Hey folks, this is Grant from CoreOS filling for Chris Rickey, and thanks for joining me today. In this webinar, we're going to be going through Tectonic, which is our enterprise distribution of Kubernetes from CoreOS. First, though, what I'd like to do is take you through just a quick intro of who we are and what we do. So at CoreOS, we are in this market to make it easy to use Kubernetes and to accomplish your containerization and orchestration goals. So the three pillars of how we go about this and make our customers successful is really, if you start on the left, it's all about Kubernetes, the Kubernetes community. You're on this call likely because you're very interested in Kubernetes itself, and it is awesome technology. We've been in the community since the beginning. We're one of the top contributors. We're leading multiple SIGs. We are creators of actually the backbone of Kubernetes. When Google released this into the wild, it needed somewhere to store data. So you can think of it like the database for Kubernetes, where we store everything as a key value. That's etcd, and we created that, and we continue to maintain that. And we continue to push forward the community, pushing forward key projects like etcd, DEX, Flannel, things like that. So we are leaders in the community, and we definitely have the expertise. Now, we also offer something called Tectonic, which we're going to demo today. This is our enterprise distribution of Kubernetes. So this brings about capabilities that make Kubernetes enterprise ready and easy to adopt. A key value add that I'll show you later is our automated operations and upgrades. And the real idea behind this is to make you cloud agnostic and easily hybrid and portable across any infrastructure that you want to run. But Tectonic is our enterprise distribution of Kubernetes. And then if you put that into, I call it the three-legged stool. So you've got community involvement, you've got Tectonic, which is the enterprise Kubernetes, and then you've got tremendous implementation and training expertise out there with multiple customers that you can see speak publicly about us as well, right? And all three of these things put together is really how we make the market go, how we make the community go, and how we make customers and partners successful with Kubernetes. That's a little bit about CoreOS. Next, let me give you a high-level overview on Tectonic itself. So again, Tectonic is enterprise Kubernetes. On the left side, you'll see that there's a big box for enterprise governance or security, whatever you want to call it. We bring features to bear that the upstream community doesn't have quite yet. So for instance, we take all of your identity that's in your corporate systems like SAML, LDAP, single sign-on systems, OIDC, Active Directory, what have you. We take your identity and map it back and make it really easy to set up who can do what in your cluster. And so that's really important. And then we make this consistent across all interfaces, whether that be the API server, whether that be interacting through the command line, or whether that be interacting through the user interface. On top of that, we also include a nice user interface to go in and edit all these commands and role bindings and roles and make it really easy to use. And we also utilize token-based authentication for kubectl, which means you don't have to deal with passwords. So that's enterprise security. On the right side, what Tectonic brings to the table is built-in monitoring and management and alerting. So I'll show you the console in a sec, but we got alerts and monitoring built in. I call this productized expertise. It's ready to go out of the box. Everything you would expect from a fully operational system, we have out of the box above and beyond other distributions out there. On top here, you'll see something that is really our one of our core differentiators, which is our cloud services, our open cloud services. So if you think about single cloud vendors, the big three out there, they have great services that run there where you don't have, they're like software as a service. You can just use these NoSQL systems, these databases, these AI or machine learning type libraries. They're all ready to use out of the box software as a service. What we're doing is we're going to be building these open cloud services based on open source software and possibly commercial software down the line, where you can take these services that are always up and running, always automatically operating, and run them on Tectonic, which means that you can run them across many clouds. So you can get your DynamoDB that can run across many clouds. You can get your KMS that is equivalent to a KMS but can run across any cloud. And that's the real idea behind these open cloud services. etcd and Prometheus are our first ones, and we are talking to customers right now around what needs to be our next ones in roadmap coming up, whether that be key value store systems, whether that be big data systems or machine learning libraries. We are currently underway on alpha testing many of these right now to add to our library. And then finally, all this stuff that I just talked about, you can run this across multiple infrastructure providers, whether that be multiple clouds, whether that be on public clouds and private clouds. Tectonic gives you true portability and gives you enterprise capabilities that allows you to adopt this technology, this awesome Kubernetes technology that is at its core, right? Upstream, we are up to date upstream at its core. And then one more final point is all of this stuff I just talked about, one-click full cluster upgrade. So whether you want to allow it to automatically upgrade or you want to have administrators control it, one click and you can update the entire cluster with no downtime. So that's Tectonic Enterprise Kubernetes. So let me now escape from this PowerPoint and let's go through the demo. So what you're looking at here is the Tectonic console. Again, what I'd like to go through in the first couple minutes here is, again, we're all here because we love and we use Kubernetes. Kubernetes itself is an awesome distributed system that really brings together the worlds of operations and the worlds of developers, and it's really great. So what I'd like to show you here is I've got a demonstration of a deployment here. I've got an application. It's actually just an HTML page here, so we got the CoreOS logo. All the things that you would expect you can do from upstream Kubernetes you can do here. So let's say that I want to scale this thing up. I want to replicate it up 6 times, and you'll see that the pods are being pulled, and it's so fast that you can't even tell, but here we go. We're replicated up, and we can handle more traffic. Let's say that I want to change the actual image that I'm working with. So I'll change from baseline to delta. I'll save these changes. Oops. Actually, let me do this from the command line here. We'll edit the deployment, which is the hello world deployment. We will change the image, and then it'll roll through, and you won't see any downtime on the application. So this is always great to demonstrate as well. Remember that Tectonic is just Kubernetes at the core, upstream, always up to date, so you take advantage of all the stable features that are out today. And you see that I made a change on kubectl, and then the application rolls through. So, I mean, these are all things that Kubernetes can do, and it's awesome, and that's why we're here. You can orchestrate blue-green deployments really easily with this. No downtime, replicate things up and down. It's all, if I kill a pod here, right, we're still alive. Right? These are all things that Kubernetes does for us. Right? So that's good stuff, but what I'd like to do now is moving away from the upstream type features. Let's get into Tectonic itself. So I'm logged out. Now I'm going to log in as an administrator in the Tectonic console. And you can see here we've got options to log in. What I'd like to do is log in with an LDAP user. So again, Tectonic allows you to take your corporate identity, who you are in your corporation, whether that be an LDAP, Active Directory, a SAML single sign-on OIDC type system. We take that and then we map it back to what you can do in the cluster. And that's all done through really easy setup and really easy operation. So first, let me show you as an administrator where you go and set up this LDAP. So here you can see that we've got an easy-to-use wizard where you can go through and set up LDAP. Right now I've got it pointing to a free jump cloud service. You can point this to your corporate systems. Super easy to set up. And I'm in as an administrator, so I'll actually go show you where the magic happens. So this is deceptively simple, but essentially these are the role bindings that exist in upstream. But again, what we do is we take who you are in LDAP or Active Directory and then map it back to what you can do through role bindings. So you can see here that I've got a role binding here that takes the user glue and then binds it to a single user and binds it to a role called admin. And so this glue user that's in LDAP can do everything that an administrator can do, right? What I'd like to do is actually, I'm going to change this binding here. I'm going to change this to view only. You can see how easy that is to do here. Why don't I remove this admin binding as well? And then this GLIU user would come in and only have view-only access. So what I can do here, here's a nice little feature. I'm going to impersonate this user in the user interface. So I've clicked on this feature, and now I am logged in, impersonating grant.lu, which is the glue user that's coming from LDAP. And you'll go in, and let's say that I want to change a deployment. So I'm just acting like the user now. I'm going to modify the count like I did before. I am a view-only user, so you can see now that access is denied for this user and how easy that was to set in, and immediately that stuff takes effect. And then what I'd like to also further demonstrate is, again, let's try to edit this thing on the kubectl command line again. As a view-only user, I should be denied rights. And again, we are denied rights here, and this is consistent across all interfaces. So again, whether you're in the API server trying to mess with the API directly, whether you are on the command line, whether you are in the user interface like I am here, we take your identity and then map it back to what you can do in an easy-to-use user interface, really, and make it consistent across all interfaces. So last thing I'd like to show you here, a couple more things actually, is if I go in here, let's take a look at this view role itself. So this is a view role that I've got the GLI user bound to. I mean, we can deal with YAML and you can edit it, and it can get complex, right? We make it easy with the user interface as well. So here you can see that I can filter on pod rules, go in here, and we can define through a nice, easy-to-use interface everything that this person can do down to a very granular level. So that's a nice little feature. And then the last thing I'd like to show you around enterprise security is token-based access. So here we've got a user interface where, like I said before, we do token-based access for kubectl, such that you don't have to deal with passwords, and there's no danger there, and at any time you can revoke access for this as well. So that's a nice little feature as well. So again, that is enterprise security. That's what Tectonic brings to the table there. And a great story that I like to tell here is we have a customer, a huge customer of ours, that is a well-known athletic apparel manufacturer. And they were able to, using Tectonic, they were able to save 70% off of their Amazon infrastructure. Those bin packing capabilities were Kubernetes specific and upstream, and we had that, so they used it. But the real value was they weren't able to even adopt Kubernetes without enterprise security like I just showed you. So they wouldn't have been able to reap all the benefits of Kubernetes itself for infrastructure savings if they didn't have enterprise security. You just couldn't adopt it in their organization. And that's what enterprise security does for you here. I mean, you can say that it's table stakes, but if you don't have it, you don't even get the benefits of Kubernetes. So that's a great customer story I like to tell. That's enterprise security. Next thing I'd like to show you is our automatic upgrade. So this is really cool. If I go to cluster settings here, this cluster is already up to date. We already did an automatic update a little while ago. I think it was last week, where it was one click and you could do it. You can choose the channel, whether you want it to be production or pre-production, so you can test this and vet this in a QA environment. And then you can choose the strategy here, whether it's automatic, or if you can't digest that, you can still do admin approval, where an admin has to click a button and then get the upgrade going. So let me actually cut over to an older cluster I have set up. It's a small 2-node cluster, and I'll actually perform the upgrade live. And it takes maybe 5–10 minutes for this smaller cluster, but then we can cut back to it at the end, and I can show you how easy it was. So I'll start the upgrade while I'm talking here. And what this is actually going to do is it's going to go through and it's going to upgrade all the different components that have to do with Tectonic and Kubernetes. So you've got networking, you've got the kubelets itself. I mean, there's many, many different components. If you go out there and Google instructions on how to go upgrade a Kubernetes cluster upstream, I mean, and if you've ever done it before, it's not easy. You can call it blue-green, you can call it what you want. You're essentially standing up an entire new cluster and then having to migrate over and cut over, and it's just painful. Here you can see it was as easy. I haven't touched the keyboard since. It's as easy as clicking through, and then the upgrade just happens. And another thing I'd like to point out, as it's going here, you can see that it's giving you a status for everything it's doing. Down here, this is deceptively simple as well. So we are a full stack solution. We started a company to secure the internet, and as part of that, we realized that patching was a big part of the problem. Now, it's cliche by now. I don't want to mention the recent problems we've had with software patching, but you can see the tremendous negative impact it has on businesses, on society. I mean, it's just awful what's going on out there, and patching is a big part of that problem. So we started this company with Container Linux as a lightweight operating system that's specialized, purpose-built to run containers. So it's super lightweight, purpose-built as a host operating system to run containers, and it's always automatically patching as well. And you can see that we extended that concept to Kubernetes itself, which is what I'm showing you here. But my point is, this is a full stack solution. What good is your Kubernetes automatically patching if your host operating system is vulnerable and not up to date as well? Well, we take care of all of that. We are a full stack solution all the way from the host operating system up. We take care of all of it. Now, down the line, I'd like to think of this all as a package solution that we just call like a distributed operating system. but that's down the line. People still think about the host operating system, and again, we take care of all of that for you. So I'm going to just let this run, but a great customer story for this one is we have a really great customer of ours that has been working closely with us since the beginning. They have many hundreds, if not thousands, of CPUs, cores of Tectonic running, and they are a SaaS solution, software as a service provider for expense management software, and they had tens of Kubernetes upstream clusters running, and it used to take them weeks to upgrade each of these things, person weeks to do it, and it had to do with all of the customizations that they had to do around upstream, and it had to do with just, again, cutting over with blue-green deployments, not easy. So it took weeks to upgrade these clusters. And you want to take advantage of all the up-to-date features and stable features and new things that come out from the community. This is a very fast-moving project. But again, it's a distributed system and it's hard to upgrade. So with Tectonic, they were able to bring that down from weeks for each cluster, a week for each cluster, down to a matter of hours. Right? So we're talking about being able to roll through upgrades on tens of Tectonic clusters, running their core business, right? In a couple hours each cluster, that equates to a couple days versus multiple person weeks. So tremendous operational saving, tremendous business agility. The ability to take advantage of new features as they come out was huge for them. So this was a tremendous value add and differentiation, and one of the main reasons, besides our expertise, that they chose Tectonic as their platform. So with that, I'm going to let this run, and the next thing I'd love to show you, this is one of my favorites, is I'm going to go into my larger cluster here, and I'm going to show you the built-in alerting and monitoring. So I'm going to go to Prometheus here, and here we go. Actually, this is great. This is a great demonstration also of, again, consistent enterprise security across all interfaces. Not an easy thing to do and accomplish on your own. So I'm going to sign into my console with my credentials here as an administrator, and what we do is we ship with out-of-the-box, ready-to-go monitoring and alerting via Prometheus. So for those in the know, Prometheus is a project out there that was really designed to, so with distributed systems, it's not easy to monitor and alert and manage these things. I mean, you've got hundreds of nodes, you need to be able to do more complex type of alerting where, hey, if 10% of my cluster goes down, then I start paging people. I mean, if one cluster dies, it's not such a big deal. That's the whole point of distributed systems, right? So the ability to go do things like that, that's what Prometheus does for you, and it's gotten tremendous adoption even outside of our company and outside of Kubernetes and Tectonic itself, where, I mean, there are certain companies out there in the CDN market that we're running the internet and monitoring and alerting it with Prometheus. So we come out of the box, ready to go with Prometheus pre-configured, and to go against all the targets in Kubernetes. You can see here it goes against all the targets. It's pre-wired. We've got pre-wired monitoring here. So if I go into this metric here, I'll scroll down through this. Imagine having to set this up yourself. I call this productized expertise, right? Why would you go and try to set this all up yourself, even if you have the expertise? And furthermore, why would you, I mean, building it is one thing, if we're all engineers here, maintaining it over time is yet another thing. Why would you want to maintain this over time as well, right? Why don't you let a vendor and expert like us go do this? So I can keep strolling, but then we'll be here all day. So again, productized expertise, tremendous productized expertise. So if I were to go, let's take a look at one of these actually. So cluster, let's call it some CPU. What's a good graph here? Whoops. Sorry, I've got not able to type so well here. Some CPU. There we go. Looks like we're having problems with that, but take my word for it, the monitoring is there, and if you want to go in and you want to take a look at different graphs for the CPUs across your clusters, you can go do that. What I'm showing you here also is alerting, so let's not forget that. We come, again, productized expertise with all these different rules out of the box for alerting as well. This is all great stuff, and it comes out of the box ready to roll, but what I didn't tell you is the Prometheus that comes out of the box is actually one of our open cloud services. So we come out of the box pre-configured with an open cloud service that is always operating, automatically operating, always running, that makes it really easy to monitor and alert on your cluster. But what we also allow you to do, and this is really cool, is if I go to Open Cloud Services here, you can have different instances of Prometheus in here, not only for your cluster, which we come out of the box with, but to monitor your applications as well. So we have customers out there that we're actually able to offload additional spend on external application monitoring platforms. We're talking one customer, I think it was $1.5 to $2 million. They didn't need to do that because out of the box, Tectonic wasn't just Kubernetes, enterprise Kubernetes. It came out of the box with these value-added open cloud services, one of them being Prometheus for application monitoring. So what I have here is I have an application that I've set up to introduce artificial latency. So what I'd like to do is let me start, again, quote-unquote application here, right? Oops. Get my command here. What I'd like to do is I'd like to start my application and then have the latency. So I'm going to hit my endpoint here with my application. And you can see it's just a hello world ping. And I've introduced artificial latency. So what we would expect to see is I've got a Prometheus instance set up separate from the cluster for application monitoring, and it's going to alert on this application as well. So let me now go show you my Prometheus Open Cloud Service. So this is the Prometheus Open Cloud Service that I've spun up a couple clicks of the buttons in configuration to monitor my applications on the cluster itself. This is really cool stuff. So you can see that it's got 3 endpoints right now. Actually, let me go increase this. Let's increase this to 6 endpoints. And then you'll see that Kubernetes is rolling through, Tectonic is rolling through, it's ready. And then you'll see it's all pre-wired where this Prometheus Open Cloud Service is now monitoring on these 6 endpoints for the applications. Wow, awesome, right? All pre-wired for you, out of the box, application monitoring, ready to roll. And let's go over to my alerts now. And you can see that with my artificial latency, and again, a rather contrived example, but you can imagine how you can extend this to instrument your cloud-native application. But I've got this set up where now it's firing it, and you can set this up with your PagerDuty, and people get pages when things go wrong with your applications. But again, tremendous, tremendous value out of the box. Not only are we enterprise Kubernetes, we're bringing to market these open cloud services that really differentiate Tectonic from the pack and give you tremendous capabilities out of the box. Again, we are looking for additional input on which open cloud services we go after, but there is much, much more to come here. So really exciting stuff. Last thing I'd like to show you, so let's review. I've showed you enterprise security. I've showed you built-in monitoring and alerting. I've showed you these open cloud services for additional value add beyond just enterprise Kubernetes. And on top of that, you can run this across any cloud, any infrastructure, and it automatically upgrades, and it's automatically operating as well. So last thing I'd like to preview for you here, again, this is an early preview. We've got certain customers that are already doing alpha testing with us. It's chargeback, showback. So you've got all this stuff running, all these applications, all this clusters running, you've got all this stuff going. I mean, at some point, this is more of a day 1, day 2 concern, but at some point, you've got to figure out, hey, who's using what? And then I need to show these groups how much it's costing us as an organization, as a company, and maybe even wire in this data into a chargeback system such that I can bill back to these different groups. So very, very common ask, and we've built that. So we've got a deployment, an application that we've deployed here called Chargeback, and what it really does is it uses big data. So what it really does is it goes in and pulls who's doing what, right, via the API server and other hooks in the cluster, and then merges that up with your bill from Amazon or your bill from Azure, your cloud provider, or on-premise, it would be more of a showback. We use big data technology for this. So for instance, for example, we've got the Hive Metastore powering the metadata for Presto, and then Presto does the join for you. But under the covers, all this magic happens for you, and then it spits out data for you, and then you can do what you want to do with the data. So just real quick preview here, what I've done is the data that was spit out by that system I just showed you that's continually running in a demo environment, I've thrown it into Google Sheets here, and you can see that you can report on it, right? So here on the right side, I've broken it down by namespace. Funny enough, a little meta here, the chargeback namespace is the one that's taking the most resources. But anyway, breaking it down by namespace, what is the percentage of cluster usage? And on the left side, these are Amazon costs for us, because this is running on Amazon, by namespace, by pod, who is using what. So again, just another example, yet another example of value-added differentiation that Tectonic is bringing to the table. Again, this is early preview, but we'd love to hear your feedback on that. Getting back to the console here, and again, that is Tectonic in a nutshell. There's much more to show you. I encourage you to go out and download the sandbox, which is just as simple as a Vagrant up. So go out there, download the sandbox, get your hands dirty, get familiar with Tectonic itself, and I'm sure that you will find it just as easy to use and just as enterprise ready as I've shown you here today. So with that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to get into any questions that you might have on this. So Amanda, do we have any questions on the line?
We do not have any questions.
Okay. Well, that's either a really good thing or a really bad thing. I'm going to go with the really good thing. Go out there, download Sandbox. We do these weekly demos. I hope you found this valuable, and enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks for your time.